Mr. Alan Grayson of Florida.
Mr. Secretary, I have 5 minutes. I have 10 short questions. I'm hoping for 10 short answers. Will implementation of the agreement increase Iran's support for terrorism?
You want these
Yes.
sequentially? We have no way to know. I presume in some places, possibly, only in the sense that they are committed to certain things that we interpret as terrorism. They don't, and we're going to continue to conflict on those issues.
All right. If the agreement is implemented, will Iran, in fact, allow inspections at all of its military sites?
Well, they have to. If they don't, they are in material breach of the agreement, and we will snap back the sanctions or take other action if necessary.
If the agreement is implemented, do you suspect that, or do you think that there's a significant risk that Iran will cheat on the agreement and develop a nuclear weapon secretly?
I don't think they're able to develop a nuclear weapon secretly because our intelligence community tells us with the regime that we have established here, it is physically impossible for them to create an entirely covert secondary fuel cycle. And we have a sufficient intrusive inspection mechanism and capacity on their fuel cycle that they can't do it. You can't make a bomb at 3.67% enrichment for 15 years. You can't make a bomb with 300 kilograms of a stockpile for 15 years. You can't make a bomb if you can't go enrich and move forward without our knowing it. And we have submitted, and we believe with clarity, that we will know what they are doing before they can do that.
If an agreement is implemented, is there a significant risk that Iran will adhere to it for a year, let's say, then pocket the $50 billion, and then go ahead and build a bomb?
Again, they can't do that because the red flags that would go off, the bells and whistles that would start chiming as a result of any movement away from what they have to do. They have to live for 15 years under this extraordinary constraint of a limitation on the number of centrifuges that can spin, on a limitation in their R&D, on 24/7 inspections, on day-to-day accountability with live television with respect to their centrifuge production, and so forth. So it is not possible for them during that period, in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, to sort of make this decision and stiff us. And if they did, in some way, if they just radically said, you know, we're going to change this whole deal and we're breaking out of here, then we have snapback of all the sanctions with the full support of the international community, which would then be absolutely in agreement that they have to do it, and we have the military option if that was necessary.
But briefly with a follow-up, isn't it true in that scenario that they would then have $50 billion in their pocket they wouldn't otherwise have?
No, I doubt that after 1 or 2 years that they would. They've had investments in their economy and they'd be moving. But you have to, I mean, you have to look at this in a real world. Here they are trying to attract investment from France, Germany, China, Russia, Britain, all kinds of countries. Is it your presumption that a country that has destroyed its stockpile, reduced its centrifuges by 2/3, put concrete in its calandria, totally stripped the ability to do fissile material at Fordow, that country, and is now seeking investment and trying to build its economy with a population of 50% of the country under the age of 30 who want jobs and a future, is it your presumption that they're just going to throw this all to the wind and go create a nuclear weapon after saying we'll strip our program down and won't? I don't think it's going to happen.
What about after 15 years? If the agreement is implemented, is Iran in fact likely to build a nuclear weapon after 15 years at the end of the deal?
All I can say to you is that they can't do it without our knowing what they're doing, because after 15 years, they have to live by the additional protocol. They have to live by the modified code 3.1. They have to live with inspectors. 150 additional inspectors are going to be going into Iran as a consequence of this agreement. And those inspectors are going to be given 24/7 access to declared facilities. So if Iran suddenly starts to enrich more, which we will know, all the bells and whistles go off. The international community would be all over that with questions and restraints.
All right, my time is almost up. I want to ask you this.
May I just add that this is the agreement that codifies a permanent ban on nuclear weapons in Iran, and we have to take the...
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I do want to ask this one additional question, and I had 4 more, but that's the way it goes. Tell me exactly what you expect will happen if the agreement is rejected. Specifically, there's been some suggestion that Iran will adhere to it anyway, and that sanctions will remain in place anyway if the agreement is rejected. Explain to me what you expect.
I actually heard that for the first time last night when I met with an Israeli friend who suggested that might be possible. It's physically impossible.
Explain why, please.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because in the legislation that you have passed, in which you've given yourself the ability to vote, you've also put in an inability for the president to waive the sanctions. So there will be no waiving of the sanctions. So there's no way for the deal to work because our lifting of sanctions is critical to the ability of other countries to invest and work, and critical, obviously, for Iran to get any money. So nothing works for them unless this deal is accepted.
We have a lot of members who still want to ask questions.